A lot of interesting news that has been popping up recently that may show that Tesla is actually moving forward and gaining momentum. I'd like to talk Tesla stock that seems to have gained, rebounded from what it was late July, where it popped up to 230s, and now it's back to where is it today? Back to 220s today. So maybe it's going to come back up. Of course, that's because of anticipation of the October 10th event. Piper Sandler came out, Alexander Potter, with a note recommending investors to actually buy Tesla before the robotaxi event in October. And so are we actually starting to see these big whale investors, these institutional analysts, are they seeing the real potential of Tesla energy in full self-driving? They actually visited the Lathrop factory and they came to what conclusion us retail investors have had about the power and impact of Tesla energy. But then they also did a deep dive on full self-driving, looked at the community tracker that's out there right now. In addition to that, you had Grace Tao this morning. She's the global vice president of Tesla. She announced and she showed on her post on Weibo that the Shanghai Megafactory is now 45% complete just 3 months after the construction started. This is apparently a new record for them. If they can get this done, if they can get 45 complete in 3 months, maybe 6 months, maybe 9 months, but at least it sounds like it's headed towards under a year to build this factory. That's a record. And at the same time, there's a new record that was announced today too. Tesla Nevada team said that they had a new record of more than 500 power walls in a single shift. So the whole reason why we are investing in Tesla is because of the rate of improvement, the rate that they can continue to beat their own records. And then to top it all off, just a few days ago, Tesla introduced a brand new Model 3 rear-wheel drive in Mexico, $2,700 US dollars cheaper than the previous version of the Model 3. So if they can keep reducing the cost of their vehicles, if they can, keep producing their products faster, they can in fact build the factories faster. That is the real product that Tesla has. And then now we're seeing institutional investors. Are we seeing momentum building? I know, Alexandra, you said that you might need to pop off. So why don't we start with you?
Sure. I was actually researching because I had the feeling, but I may be wrong, that Piper Sandler actually had downgraded Tesla from a buy to a neutral a couple of weeks ago when the robotaxi event date was pushed out, or maybe it was after the production and delivery numbers. I don't really recall it, but I have a feeling they downgraded it, and now they're suddenly so optimistic again, which is surprising, but obviously a welcome change. I think most of the institutions actually had a coming to Jesus moment after the Q2 financials with energy. Remember how long we've been telling everybody how complicated it is for these fund managers to always adhere to future revenue, because they just can't put that into their spreadsheets the way, we don't care about it, but the way they need to be reassured and have numbers and have their calculations of earnings per share for the coming years to come. And so I think the energy, well, not only stabilization, but the doubling of the energy deployment and revenue numbers at a stable margin close to 25% brought a lot of light to that field. So I think that gave a lot of comfort to institutional investors. And then the second field obviously is there seems to be now more understanding that there is a path to a business plan for FSD. I mean, I don't know how they could not see it before, but what have you. So you're right in pointing out that they obviously feel now that October 10th could be bigger than they initially anticipated. So I think it's a welcome change. I don't think we're actually at a price that even halfway reflects that. I still find 220 a very low level for a Tesla entry, but be my guest if they feel it should be go higher. Let's do it.
Thank you, Alexandra. I think your audio is not great. It's not the perfect as it normally sounds, so please try to fix that. But raise your hand if you are
I'm on
available.
the phone. Yeah, I'm on the phone. Sorry about that.
Jump in. No problem at all. So Jeff, you're the perfect person to ask about the speed of these factories, the Shanghai Megapack factory being built in 3 months, 45% complete, and then the improvement in Nevada for the Powerwall. What's your thoughts about the improvements of the ability for Tesla to build factories and products?
Yeah, they measure themselves on that. They have internal KPIs on trying to do this stuff faster each time. They, great leadership in companies. They have these foundational principles on continuous improvement and really trying to reach out and do new things, do things differently. And if you saw what Elon was doing with even the data centers and measuring the number of days and hours it takes to go from zero to fully operational, he was obviously going to do the same things with building factories, and they want to get better each generation. They want the factory to actually be constructed better, to be more operational day one. The other thing that they've got to do is when you're building a factory, you've got to get that date pegged pretty well, because you actually have to start ordering material to fill up the inputs to the factory so it meets you want material coming in from suppliers to meet the readiness of the factory, and you want this to meet that factory ramp. So they have suppliers that have 16, 20, 28 week lead time on some parts. So they have to be calling it now. If they're going to be in production in Q1, they actually have to be signaling suppliers, oh yeah, you're not shipping to Lathrop, you're shipping to Shanghai. And I'm sure Lathrop is going to kit up some product and ship it over to them as well for trial assembly. So yeah, they're getting faster at building factories, and as they should. And this is something that they measure. But just coming back, Herbert, to kind of the macro view, there's some data that came out from S&P Mobility that in the U.S., this is measuring registrations. Do you hear any background noise, by the way? Hearing?
Yes, a little
Yes,
bit.
we do.
Okay, let me get to a quieter place. There's some data that came out from S&P Mobility that talked about the registrations in the U.S. in June. So remember, sales and registrations mean different things for different companies. Registrations are actually how many cars were sold to consumers. And the June data was interesting because if you look at it overall, the U.S. was down 9% versus June of 2023. So all car sales registrations were down 9%, but EVs were up a couple of percent year on year, and ICE plus hybrid was net negative year on year. So that's one data point. The other data point is there was about 108,000 EVs registered during that time period. And I think 61,000 of them were Teslas. So Tesla's back over 50% market share, 55, 56% market share in that measurement. And then to me, this whole thing fits a backdrop. Those are registrations. And then now if you go one step backwards into the wholesale dealer inventory network, Tesla left their own channel. They have their own channel and of dealers, but their own channel, they left June with 18 days. We know the rest of the auto industry, inclusive of Tesla, was at 116 days. They actually added 1 million units into dealer inventory year on year. So inventories are built, and that's beyond a healthy level. They're at like almost 3 million cars in inventory, and they actually target about, relative to the planned shipments, about 1.5 million is what they would be an easier number. So why am I saying all this? It looks like things are building up. And then if you go back one step further and you look at their balance sheet inventory, like what they have in their factories, I looked at Toyota, who's the best at inventory outside of Tesla, and their balance sheet inventory has built up sequentially the last 4 quarters in a row. It's up 20%, and that's a big number. So it looks like some things are building up in the auto industry, and all of it makes sense because the loan rejection rates are at 10-year highs, the credit spreads are tightening, and the ability to get credit is tightening. And I mean, we're right on the edge here, I think, of a real serious problem. You've seen Stellantis slow factories, you see GM do layoffs, and I think we're right at the edge. And I don't know if they're like working together, with the unions and even with the government to say, hey, like, don't make any big layoff moves between now and the election. I don't know if anything's being coordinated, but I mean, to me, they're right at the edge of having to start doing significant furloughs, significant plant shutdowns, because they've got double the inventory, and some of the OEMs have triple the inventory and channel, and these dealers are stuffed, and they're like, look, we got to stop. And it looks like the dealer margins are going down, and the incentives are also moving up. So I know that's a lot of information there, but I just wanted to kind of step back and like just think through some of the auto macro landscape. I think Tesla's, when I look at Tesla, it looks like China's going really well. It turned into the best quarter ever. It looks like the interest rate deals in the U.S. are going well, but we are going to take an MSRP hit as a result of extending that in the quarter. But it looks like volumes are healthy in the U.S. and in China, so it looks like it's going to be a good quarter, which is going to help the company on the gross margin side and getting back into growing production.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff.
I'll pause there.
Perfect. I mean, that sets it up, right? Because the auto market in general, you need to understand the macro for the auto, and then it looks like that if Tesla's not yet in momentum now, it will be soon. So, Omar, we are talking about, is Tesla the stock and the business? You can choose which one. Is a momentum building? I saw a post this morning from Farzad. He said Tesla feels like it has a giant pregnant pause ever since 8.8 was moved to 10.10. Anyone else? You said, not at all. Tesla doesn't pause ever. And then Farzad replied saying, not the company per se. He might have been talking about the stock. So do you feel that in the last 3 months, or maybe just in the last month, we're starting to see momentum build for Tesla again?
Well, there are a lot of bad things going on in the world. The auto market continues to be troubled. There's inventory building across the industry. But on the other hand, a lot of things do seem to be improving. I mean, we saw the China numbers last night. They've been doing pretty well in China. Things seem to be improving there. They are outselling a lot of the other competitors that people said they had to be worried about. So the Tesla China team has really done an incredible job there. I think here in the US, you're also seeing some strength in the registration data. They were about 10% down for the first half of the year. In June, it was only about 2%. So they're really closing that gap as they ramp the Model 3, as they ramp the Cybertruck. And, the Cybertruck alone is now outselling Rivian. Now, looking ahead, next month, we're going to start to see rates coming down. This quarter, we've got an easy comp compared to Q3 2023. So this whole narrative about, oh, deliveries are down year over year. Well, guess what? This quarter, we get to say deliveries are up year over year. And then they've got the Cybercab unveil coming. We've got interest rates coming down. It certainly does seem like there's a lot of wind coming into the sails going into the back half of the year. And at the same time, I mean, Tesla has just had an incredible pace of releases for FSD. Some of them have been coming so fast, I can't even keep up with them. And we're starting to see that roll out to more hardware for customers even today. And the feedback I've heard from people all across the country is, this is incredible. This is a major improvement over even 12.3. So I think investors are really looking at this and realizing that the AI boom that started a few years ago has really started to make a difference in autonomous driving. And you're seeing Waymo today announce that they're now giving 5.2 million rides a year. They've got a run rate of 5.2 million rides a year. That's more than 10 times the ride volume of May 2023. So just incredible growth here, growth you can't ignore. This is beyond the beyond the point of us sort of arguing about it theoretically on Twitter or on Spaces. This is something that is now in the real world, that's now being used by millions of people. And in Tesla's case, they've got FSD in the United States. They're working to bring it to other markets. there's no other system that works as well as what FSD does. In many ways, it's the most advanced self-driving system in the world. We're also hearing that they're going to be unveiling Optimus in China coming up. So, yeah, as a Tesla investor, it does certainly seem like there are some good things coming up in the second half of the year.
Thank you so much, Omar. And Xander, are you there? I wanted to ask you about the stock. So the Tesla stock started the year January 2nd, 248. It fell to the low this year at 142 in April 22. And it went up again to 263 by July 10th. And then it fell to 191 August 7th. That was 3 weeks ago. And now it's up to 221. What are you seeing? Is that a momentum that you're seeing happening? Are you seeing that, just like what Piper Sandler said, that, they're recommending now that people should buy it before 1010? Are you seeing that as well?
Yeah, as we discussed last Wednesday on your live stream, I've kind of been waiting for the market to pick a direction of where they want to go, and you've seen day over day. I think it's like 8 or 9 days of increases, V-shaped recovery after that Monday yen carry trade. So that's cleared up, and the threat of war is clearing up as well. So, the market looks at Tesla, and you can see that it's waiting to pop. And as Omar stated, the wind coming into the sails, of earnings will drive the new investor class of people who will get excited for the vision that's going to be cast on 1010 if that date holds. So I'm really looking forward to those invitations going out. The market, in my guess, will eat that up. Not financial advice, but personally started, as I stated, once direction is picked, I start going into long-term leaps and stop selling the rip. And, as these upgrades from analysts continue to occur, that gives me confidence, which gives, in my interpretation, other investor confidence. And if you start removing this sell the news narrative that is continuously part of the trading aspect of investing, as people stop selling the rip, that will short term be bullish, but long term, my focus has shifted to like I said, stop selling the rip.
Gotcha. And then you're saying that you're watching it as the momentum builds. You want to see what the market is. And you're saying that you think by the end of this year, that's when we might also see, right, some momentum for the year.
Yeah, I mean, just look at the last 2 weeks of trading for Tesla. It's a line you can draw. It's straight up. There's not a giant sell-offs. If you take a look at the multi-year trend line off of the high, so 414, 370, 300, 270, so on and so forth. You walk all the way down. There's this really nice line that's been broken. We went to 270, we came back down to earth, and now that is exactly technically what you'd like to see. The market is contemplating what is the fair value for Tesla. Is there a big downside to it? I don't see that. If we've been able to maintain 200 relatively confidently, and bad news doesn't cause Tesla to go back down to the 150s, and so it's showing a path out of the, to me, the bottom is in. But I could be wrong, but I don't think so. So yeah, I think it's good news moving forward.
Okay, we join Larry up. Welcome Larry up to the panel here. Larry, we're talking about, is there momentum? Are you seeing momentum building for Tesla, the business, and maybe also the stock?
Yeah, so hi guys. I'm sitting in a car in a parking lot in Greensboro because we're helping my daughter move. So if I get cut off, I mean, just move on. But in any case, I'm really the last guy to ask about the immediate term for the stock. I don't really. I'm not an expert in that field. I think Xander is probably a better person to advise than I am. On the business side, I'm very comfortable with where the business is. I'm aligned very strongly with Omar. I think he's right on track. I think the company's in a very good position. I think they've been consolidating their auto business. I think they're rolling out these new products. I think the energy business is taking off. I think Optimus is. I mean, the market doesn't really begin to recognize, this enormous momentum that's building in these different businesses, and as the market begins to, realize that they'll reassess Tesla in its position. So my point is that if the market experts are telling us that there's good momentum in Tesla, that's really good information. That's good news. I'm skeptical about the 10-10 event because typically these events don't carry too much impact with the analysts. They tend to dismiss Tesla's view of the world until they see actual earnings from it. So the short term, I'm not sure they have a big impact short term, but I really like where Tesla is today. And from a business point of view, I don't think we've seen Tesla in better shape than it is today. Just on the car side of it, I see China doing very well. I see the United States doing extremely well. I had a great July. And going into August, just from the evidence I'm seeing in my corner of the world, just somewhat of a bellwether because it's in the south, but in the city I live in, we're in a pretty high-end city with a lot of universities, and so we tend to get a lot of high-tech wealth there. And I'm just seeing a lot of new Teslas on the road. That's a bellwether for me. And I think Cybertruck's doing very well. So China's doing well. US is doing well. And my sense is that Europe somewhat turned a corner. When you talked about new factories, you didn't mention Berlin. So Berlin is expanding. I think there's going to be some very interesting news out of Berlin in this coming year. So in general and across all of their businesses, I'm very happy with where Tesla is right now. That's what I've got. That's all I got.
Thank you so much, Larry. Appreciate your time. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.